Happy Halloween everybody. This video might be up a little bit earlier than the actual Halloween day, but it's near enough. And this is my story from the Isle. I don't remember anything from my previous life. I simply awoken from what felt like a deep slumber, and yet I'm nothing like the other dinosaurs on this island. I hadn't been alive long, but already I was desperate for some food. Thankfully, in the nearby sanctuary, there was a fallen Stegosaurus. I decided to indulge in my insatiable hunger. Fighting was the last thing on my mind, and thankfully the Raptor 2 was prioritizing his own growth. After all, why would you fight when there's enough food for everyone? What I will say is if we meet again, you might not be so fortunate. Life was still awfully strange. The sounds I had only briefly begun to learn before that fateful night. Now, I suddenly felt the world in a very different way. Something completely unnatural. For now, I was simply following my nose, looking for my next meal. You see, all carnivorous dinosaurs have a drive for meat, but mine felt stronger. I made my way towards the tunnel that led out to the river delta, in hopes of finding more life on this beautiful island. I have caught a small whiff of some food. Now something about this food just feels a little bit suspicious. It's kind of just in the open and I don't know why nobody else has gone for it. Now, as much as my concerns were perfectly valid, there was nobody here, and so, again, I gave in to my drive for food. I'm just grabbing pieces and then moving, just in case. I don't think there's a Hera, but you never know. That's the last organ, I believe. The sun sank lower beyond the mountains, and light was slowly drained from the valley. Where light was becoming trickier for others, for me, I could still make out two juvenile Tenontos drinking from the river. Tiptoeing ever closer, I made myself as low as possible. I was led by an instinct I couldn't explain. Now, I don't know if I'm big enough for this fight. I've not really thought about that. I see young Tenontos, and I just kind of went for it. Now, it wasn't long before the Tenontos realised they had the numbers advantage. They would have to be careful, but if they play it right, they could do a lot of damage to me. It's that tail attack. If I get stunned by that, I'm in trouble. And there it was, the reminder that these young herbivores could still pack a punch from an early age. They know they have me on the back foot. And with that, I took some time to recover and regain some health before going back in again. This time, however, visibility would be a lot worse for the herbivores. They've taken a defensive approach. They've basically put their heads in the rock. Never mind, this one's come out. They're feeling brave, and that's scary. However, after a few good bites, they retreated back to their rock. I'm going to have to very carefully nibble away at the tails. Maybe try and bait out some attacks. There we go. Little Stegosaurus has come to watch the chaos. Okay, that's a couple of big hits, and on top of that we're also bleeding. So, definitely time to go back. So after all of that, both parties traded blows and decided it wasn't worth the potential death. Oh, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. For now, the devil would have to wait for another soul to be claimed. That is honestly one of the most chilled stegos I've ever seen. Stegosaurus always seem to try and get involved, but this one, nope. He happily watched me fight the Tarantos, and he's happy to just go about his way. The scariest part of all of this is that in fact 81% of people who watch these stories aren't even subscribed. If that's you, you know what to do. Thank you. Now I've made my way back over because there's a Pachycephalosaurus body just waiting to be eaten, and it would be a shame to waste it. The night had seen its fun, and the sun rose to take charge once more, and we made our way past the volcano to the North Lake. Now I've just caught sight of a Cerato or a Dino, or maybe both. And there was indeed both. In fact, they were having a fight, and at this size, it wasn't a fight that I wanted to get involved in. However, nosy neighbours became more and more intrigued by the second. This, however, was just the beginning for these two in their fight for dominance. Both clearly battered and bruised, they would have to choose the next blow carefully. Or it could be their last. Seeing the delicate situation, a pteranodon joined the fight, and with both on low health, it actually posed a substantial threat. The pteranodon though, crash landing and dodging the jaws of death. Not just once, but twice. Eventually though, everyone went their separate ways, and it was my chance to stalk some prey. Only I wasn't the only hungry one. Thankfully for me, the rocks had made it difficult for the crocodile to get to the dilo. And so the hunt was still on. Dude, you're gonna ruin it, go away. I had only turned my back for half a second to eat my snack, and the dilo had disappeared. I have to search for some tracks. I'll just go the way that he went for now. He's coming back. He's coming back this way. At this point, I had no idea if he'd actually seen me, or if he just thought I was actually a body. Unfortunately for him though, this body was alive. And the devil was hungry. Unfortunately, life doesn't always go your way, and for this dilo, it was cut short. Eventually I hiked my way down to the port, where we found a whole host of other life that we hadn't seen yet. This guy has no idea I'm here. Of course, the peace within the port was but a momentary distraction, because a new group had rolled into town. Yep, here comes the support. And before you know it, 2 becomes 3. Now at this point, if one more raptor jumps on my back, it's game over. That was far too close. If one more raptor gets on my back there, I'm pinned. However, once more night crept in, and I felt the devil's embrace wrap around my very being. He gave me darkness, and in return, I would bring chaos. There's a raptor just got a kill over there, which means he's vulnerable. This time I was ready. I lured them out with their numbers into the darkness and into the trees. This time the raptors were confused, taking blows from a creature they can't understand and very rarely see. I tell you what, he's so lucky he dodged that bite. He is hurting bad. After taking numerous blows, they began to retreat into the forest. Little did they know, however, I was following them. How none of them are dead yet is beyond a miracle. I don't know who's keeping them alive. Maybe God's keeping them alive. But the devil's growing hungry. I think I can actually hear some of them back here. Yeah, they're all back here, look, sat on their perch. I can smell a lot of blood. The wounded raptors could only sit and watch, but one thing they did have was the safety in height. Now I've waited until morning, and yeah, there's one, but now they know I'm here. No, unfortunately, I don't think I'm getting these guys this time. But it did mean that now I had free reign over the pond, and no one to bother me. Now you see, the devil, he was hungry, and so he paid me a visit himself as a reminder. Oh my god, that is the Tyrant lizard himself. Oh my god. Run, 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 run. Oh, the devil's come to see me. Yes, he was here not as a nightmare, but in a very real form. We need to start taking some souls. Just a bit further up the river, I bumped into some more raptors, and this time, I was the one with the intimidating presence. I hereby claim this food mine. You guys can just sit and watch. I'm gonna bring this body over to where they are, so they can watch me eat this as well. Delicious. A sandstorm was on the horizon. The air was heavy, and the only thing on everyone's mind was to seek shelter. However, with limited shelters, the chance of sharing with a neighbour was quite high. We'll park our truck in here, I think, for the sandstorm. I haven't seen anyone else yet. I think we're okay. But I wasn't actually alone. Or should I say, this human wasn't alone. At this point, he would have noticed a rather ominous presence staring back at him from the hangar. Eventually, the strange two-legged creature slipped out from the safety of the compound. And as the sandstorm cleared, I heard a couple of rustling in the bushes. And after investigating the building for a couple of minutes, I came to the conclusion that maybe he wasn't home. He's out here somewhere. Now if he had just stayed in the bush, I probably wouldn't have seen him. However, he stepped out, and it would be the last mistake he ever makes. And it's one more for the devil. After enjoying the satisfaction of the kill, I made my way down to the South Plains, where I found some creatures that were my own. Well, as close as you can get whilst being undead. I really hope there's no crocodile. Nope, we're all good. Now, why can't I grab the food? I don't really know what's happening here. I think it might be bugged. Nope, we got it. The rains came in and it was time to move on. However, this time I would have a companion by my side. But with a belly as empty as mine, feeding another mouth too was going to be difficult. As my partner in crime took a rest, I went to get a drink from the nearby lake. Which is when I could hear something swimming in the water. Now that is a little Serato, I think. And he has no idea I'm here. The devil's favourite. This isn't going to provide very much food though. Maybe a mouthful. But we're desperate, so we take it. Eventually I found myself at the very same passage as we were at when I was just a young dinosaur when I'd first been brought back into this world. Again, it's a tidbit, but we need it. Tidbits are fine, they keep us alive. Now I didn't actually notice anything here, but OSC actually noticed something in the bushes. Has he seen something? He's just headbutting all the bushes. Oh, there he is. There's a BAP. Oh my god, how did he see that? Oh my god. That's a big mire. I don't know how much I can do here. Just run, just run. This isn't a fight, this is a run. We'll run. I'm stuck. Why am I stuck? I can't go in. I can't go in the tunnel, I'm stuck. Oh, I'm dead. Oh my god. How am I not dead? I can't go in the tunnel. There's like a invisible wall. Oh, there's like a very, very tiny gap that I can squeeze through. However, before going back in, it made sense just to finish the food. Eventually we broke clear of the Myosaura, but that was a very close near-death experience. Now had I known that that food was bugged, I wouldn't have eaten these intestines because OSC was also starving. See, if I had known this was bugged, I wouldn't have eaten that because now he's got no food again. It's just bugged, can't eat it. When faced with two Carnos or the potential threat of a croc, the raptor chose the river. We just weren't able to catch a break. We eventually followed three raptors down to a nearby river area where once again they could use their agility to gain superior high ground. We can't even wait this guy out because we're hungry, or more so my companion here is very hungry. The other two raptors had also found high ground on the other side of the river, and it was those two that we decided to focus our attention on. Whilst one hungry Carno played distraction down below, the other one played ambush from above. But once again, we couldn't do enough damage before they escaped. He is just out of reach every single time. Come on, swim faster! Unfortunately, it was too little, too late. These raptors were just too high up, and we couldn't get them. I think our friend here is just about out of food. I think it might just be the end for him. And with one last glance over my shoulder, I witnessed the final fall of a giant that will no longer see another sunset. My companion was gone. With a final goodbye, it was time to move on and try to find food for myself. As cruel as the situation seemed, I was here with a purpose, and I had slipped into a state of compassion. From now on, Carnos are for hunting with, not for companionship. In some twisted fate, not 5 minutes after he died, there was an abundance of food on the bridge we had only just passed. Now, was this the devil's trickery, or was it just the island's way of creating the circle of life? I guess for now, we just won't know. Eventually I did meet up with some Carnos again, and this time it was as I had planned, for a hunt. I could feel the devil calling my name, and I was gonna provide. Bite by bite, cut by cut, the mire grew weaker. And eventually, it could just no longer carry on. So, remember when I said I heard the devil calling my name? Well, it wasn't because he wanted more from me. It was because he was done with me. I had served my purpose, and so he would claim me back.